Which new car will make you happy? Is your happiness even within the remit of any new car? It's a serious question which I get asked all the time. It's also officially part of my ongoing jihad on bullshit. Janet emailed me the other day an exhaustive essay on choosing the right 7-seat SUV. This one paragraph in Janet's email hit the nail out of the park. She says, "We've pretty much narrowed it down to the Kluger or the Santa Fe. I like Toyota as a company, but the price and features of the Santa Fe are also impressive. Can you help me decide which of these SUVs is more likely to make me happy in the long term?" Oh dear. I think Janet is in line for the bad news. It's an interesting proposition though, conflating the acquisition of a consumer product, a vehicle, with the elusive emotional state we know as happiness. Is such a thing even possible? It's mostly a deep philosophical question rather than an automotive one, but it deserves answering because a lot of people do this. The new car is collateral in some kind of consumer quest, a crusade of sorts. And it's not just chicks who do it. Women are perhaps less inhibited about admitting it, at least the ones like Janet who ask me these kinds of questions at autoexpert.com.au. Men seem generally disinclined to state that they're on this mission with the objective being the prosecution of their happiness. But I suspect it's right there, often unsaid in the testosterone-fueled half of the world as well. The reason the question matters is that if the finance minister has just given you a go for Operation New Car, you can expect imminently to fast rope out of a metaphoric Black Hawk and into an ocean of bullshit. And not the discount stuff, the extremely high-priced A-grade export quality variety of bullshit that can only be manufactured by an advertising agency wanker. And swimming in this very polluted sea, even briefly, it's pretty easy to see why consumers so quickly get fed up. The central problem is the disparity between what is promised and what gets delivered ultimately. The car industry manufactures just enough new vehicles to satisfy demand, but it is hyper-productive on the procurement of bullshit. Most people know this, but they don't really understand what bullshit actually is. People erroneously assume it's just a colloquialism for lies. It's not. Lies and bullshit are very different, and bullshit is far more insidious. Liars tell falsehoods. In order to do that, the liar must have a deep kind of respect for the truth and then shoulder the burden of the extra cognitive and perhaps emotional workload required to understand what they believe to be true and then actively to misrepresent it, seemingly without conflict with the facts. In this sense, the liar has a much more robust relationship with the truth than the bullshitter. The bullshitter is a completely different kind of artist, hence the accolade for those who excel at its delivery. Bullshitters are indifferent to truth or lies. They can draw freely from the truth and from falsehood in any proportion. Bullshit can luxuriate its way from being 100% true to totally false, or be any proportion of the two between these extremes. The salient mission of the bullshitter, which sets him apart from the liar, is to misrepresent what he is in fact up to, his objective, what he wants from you. Volvo has done an excellent job bullshitting recently, currently using the tagline, "Makes parenting look easy," to promote the new XC60. And whether the XC60 makes parenting look easy or not is absolutely irrelevant. It's the misrepresentation of Volvo's objective that makes it bullshit. Volvo doesn't actually care about whether the XC60 bestows upon parenting the appearance of ease or difficulty. Volvo simply cares about selling more XC60s and nailing the right emotional triggers to get that job done. Do you suppose there's ever been even a single Monday morning board-level work-in-progress meeting in Gothenburg to monitor the flux in the appearance of parenting following the launch of the XC60? Probably not, on the balance of probabilities. It's absurd even to consider this as a serious proposition. And that's why the tagline is bullshit. To be fair, this Volvo parenting appearance bullshit is just one minor ripple on the tsunami of car company bullshit that confronts every new car buyer. The bullshit is prolific, insidious, and exquisitely crafted in line with the incredible monetary resources devoted to its manufacture and dissemination. And it is so difficult to resist, no matter how sophisticated you believe your resistance to be. The density of advertising bullshit has some effect on us all. The first world is dripping in it, and it would be entirely presumptuous to suggest it does not have an effect on you. You are simply not above it, nor impervious to it, and yet there is some important feedback within the bullshit cloud that affects car makers as well. They are not immune to their own bullshit either. Car makers' own prize-winning bullshit affects them profoundly. The promise is out of proportion with the delivery. Therefore, the long-term effect of every vehicle being wrapped in bullshit is, although it's good for getting buyers to part with their cash up front, it's also setting that car maker up for a fall. Advertising is excellent at igniting our vain desires and inflaming our passions, and then failing to deliver. In the bullshit stakes, advertising is the wonder bra of false promises. It all looks good, then you undo the clasp, and there are essentially no tits to fondle. Literally a hollow promise, unsubstantiated. I mean, you buy an XC60 and after several weeks, you're sitting around the dinner table. You've just got back to your lukewarm roast after changing the baby's nappy mid-course. The tandem odours of baby shit and roast lamb commingle in the family dining room. You washed your hands twice, and you can still smell it. The bill for the school fees is over there, up on the refrigerator. You haven't had a decent root in a month. And your 3-year-old chooses this reflective moment to debate with you the relative merits of broccoli consumption using the time-honoured mechanism of a temper tantrum. So what do? You glance around, a quick stock take. Parenting, not looking all that easy. Do you even for a second consider calling the Volvo customer helpline? Hello, Volvo? Look, bought an XC60 9 weeks ago and parenting is still looking kind of difficult. Am I doing something wrong? Is this a known problem with the vehicle? Are you working on a fix? Is there likely to be a recall? I hope they record the shit out of that conversation. It warrants preservation for quality and training purposes. The core intellectual dissatisfaction with consumerism is the inherent disconnection between the product and what it promises. The XC60 simply cannot deliver what it purports to represent, which would be an easy view of parenting. Honda says of the new Civic, fun to drive is in our DNA. Ring the friggin' Honda call centre and tell them it still sucks interminably to be stuck in peak hour traffic in a Civic. 99% of the driving done by 2 standard deviations of Civics since the dawn of time is just not fun. Toyota says the new Hilux is unbreakable. Really? I could disprove that in about 30 seconds. And loving it. I'd be very happy to. Holden says the shitbox Cruise is able to, quote, make every day less every day. I'm tipping your life will be even more every day if you make that particular mistake. And Ford says the Territory is the vehicle for, quote, keeping Australia real. Mate, it makes me wonder what happens to our wonderful nation's underlying reality when the factory closes in just a few months. Will Australia become imaginary? Find out on October 8. And my mates at Mercedes-Benz say, of the C-Class, this changes everything. As a point of uncontestable fact, if you buy a C-Class, the only thing that changes is the car that's parked in your driveway. Everything else will remain pretty much the same as it was BC. We want parenting to look easy. Who hasn't wanted to change everything at times? Who doesn't want Australia to remain real? These desires are absolutely real. The message promises them, but ultimately the vehicles cannot deliver. And we all know this deep down. Despite their logical ridiculousness, at a deep emotional level, these promises are very effective. It's partly we consumers who are to blame for this too. There is a very real worrying trend away from critical thought, logical process, and robust analysis. And instead, we appear to be heading directly towards a world where instinct, impulse, and opinion are just as important. This is disgraceful. It does not help. Trust me on this. Using instinct, impulse, and opinion to buy a car is a mistake. Imagine hearing your cardiothoracic surgeon say, today, I'm going to do your bypass totally on instinct just before you go under. Imagine the pilot landing a commercial jet just on impulse. Ladies and gentlemen, the captain speaking, fuck it, I'm just going to wing it. I've decided not to give a shit about the airspeed indicator and the checklist. I'm just going to land this baby in the moment. Opinion is interesting too. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, right? Well, actually, they're not. Opinions certainly are not all equal. Some opinions serve merely to identify you as the card-carrying dickhead in the room. Among them, vaccination is bad for your kids, they faked the moon landing, fluoride in the water is merely a tool for the elites cognitively to dumb down the population. Queen Elizabeth II is really the ruler of the lizard people. And buying a Holden Captiva is a really good idea. You are entitled to your opinion, certainly, but sometimes it just identifies you as a muppet. And as for giving both sides of the story equal airtime, many issues simply do not constitute a battle of two equal yet conflicted points of view. Some people think beheading non-combatants on video is a pretty good idea. Thousands of people worldwide are of this opinion. Some people think it's a good idea to stone others to death for adultery, apostasy, or homosexuality. And surely those opinions deserve no airtime, no equality. And I use them merely as extreme examples that opinions are not all equal. Believing you want a particular new car, being of that opinion, landing the aircraft on instinct, is just not the same thing as objectively choosing the right new car. Believing a cheap Mercedes-Benz is a luxury car, well, that's an opinion. You are certainly entitled to it. But it would be a mistake to conflate this opinion with objective truth about the A, B or C-class base models. Believe what you want, but they are in fact nasty, cynically stripped out shitboxes with very few redeeming features apart from a notionally desirable badge. So at the absolute best, here's what you can hope for from a new car. It could be a reliable and comfortable form of transportation from A to B, in the context of the kinds of driving you do, from towing a 3-ton boat to driving a short distance to the train station every day. You know, the epic transcontinental odyssey or the daily commute or the hardcore all-terrain adventure. There's a suitable vehicle out there for all kinds of applications. With the right car, you might also expect a reasonable level of technical and logistical support if you have some kind of problem. And, doffing one's cap to the intangible, you might expect it to constitute the right kind of status symbol or fashion accessory for you, or at least not to misrepresent your societal status downward. I guess you might also expect it not to depreciate like some kind of stuck pig and perform at or slightly beyond your expectation. These statements are just as true for a Mazda 2 as they are for a BMW M3. But that's about all a car can achieve on the logistics and even quasi-emotional fronts. If it does the job without letting you down, that's an A-grade automotive performance. However, were I you, I would not conflate the achievement of these aims, reliability, suitability, support statement, performance and retained value, with happiness. That would be a bridge way too far. The ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle devoted significant inquiry to the pursuit of human happiness. In the succeeding 24 centuries, nobody has been able to refute his conclusions, at least successfully. The late big Greek A suggested that happiness flowed from the lofty ideals of love, meaningful human connections, friendships that matter, and having a vocation that helps others. Despite what the automotive marketing departments promise, a car just cannot hope to deliver on the core happiness promises. Any suggestion otherwise is merely breathtakingly bullshit. If you're an especially shallow tool, you might convince yourself that others will regard you differently should they see you alight one day from your everything changer, also known as the Mercedes-Benz C-Class, or the imaginary Australia banishing, but soon to die, Ford Territory. In reality, nobody except you really gives a shit what car you own. That's just how it is. So it's interesting that the answer to Janet's question is accurately, none of them can hope to make you happy. There might be, fleeting happiness surrounding the acquisition of that new car you've been lusting after. You get it home, but guaranteed, this brief euphoria will not last as long as the new car smell. In a short space of time, it's just going to be another car, and it won't make even the tiniest dent in your position on the happiness continuum. Not even a Ferrari can make you happy, I'm sad to say. It's not within even the mighty Cavallino's repertoire to make a dent in the pursuit of happiness. Still, owning a Ferrari might get you laid a lot with a succession of vacuous but really hot babes. And if you're going to be unhappy, let's face it, that would be absolutely the best way to do it. It's even more interesting, perhaps, that the best you can hope for, the effect of choosing exactly the right car for you, getting it exactly right, the very best you can achieve here, the most optimistic assessment in the long term, is absolute neutrality in the domain of human happiness. It's peripheral to the mission, if the mission is achieving a happy life. However, and this is a pretty significant however, the achievement of unhappiness is so much easier. Simply choose the wrong car. Mission accomplished. An unreliable, unsuitable, poorly supported shitbox that depreciates faster than the Argentinian peso, which performs poorly and makes you look like a loser. That's pretty much a rock-solid guarantee of years of unhappiness right there. Unhappiness is easy, and a car can absolutely achieve that for you if you get it wrong. I guess this is the fundamental asymmetry of the human condition. Achieving unhappiness is child's play, and yet happiness is so ephemeral. If you want to get this right, you must engage your capacity for critical thinking and get your shields up against the upcoming onslaught of marketing bullshit. It's a war of attrition, absolutely, and the enemy has incredibly effective weapons. Contact me at autoexpert.com.au for the right advice. I can't help you with happiness. That's beyond my remit. But I can help you banish the bullshit and get the right new car without blowing the things that really matter. Best I can do. Leave a comment below to let me know what you think, and bear in mind that I consider well thought out hate mail is next to fake godliness. And subscribe for regular updates. You know you want to. Don't forget to like or hate this video. Either is okay, but I abhor indifference. I'm John Cadogan. Thanks for watching.